Johnny Depp gets a part. He decides to take this cheesy film about a Disney ride.
The Fabulous Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's going to be unbelievably normal and dull.
The nominees for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role are...
They were concerned that I was ruining the movie.
Yeah, you ruined it. $330 million worth of...
300 million domestic. Big surprise to a lot of people.
Pirate film hadn't worked in 50 years.
I'm voting thumbs up all the same for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Who wants to do a movie about a pirate, Disney pirate ride?
There wasn't really any hope for it.
Did it surprise you, its success?
Hugely. Oh, I had no idea.
Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. A blockbuster that came out of nowhere and took the world by storm. It managed to not only adapt a theme park ride to the big screen, but also managed to make pirates cool again.
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
But how?
So it would seem.
And why is it so good? To answer that, we need to go back in time and look at why pirate films were so bad, as well as one beloved Disneyland ride. Pirates of the Caribbean, as most people know, was and still is a historic Disneyland ride, one that would draw people from all around America to ride it.
I had great memories of going on that ride when I was a little kid. Because when you're a little kid, all you want to be is a pirate, you know.
In the late 90s, early 2000s, Disney was attempting to adapt its theme park rides to film, with the hopes that their successes would attract more potential consumers to Disneyland.
We just love it!
Oh, I think it's great!
Wonderful!
But all of them had been failures, and when Australian scriptwriter Stuart Beattie pitched his idea of a Pirates of the Caribbean adaptation to Disney, they immediately rejected it. See, at the time, pirate films were seen as box office poison.
Pirate films weren't really in vogue, were they?
No, I don't think they'd worked for about 50 years.
Not for a while.
And the recent failure of Cutthroat Island only solidified this idea.
All of that stuff, I've seen it before. The ships didn't look glamorous, boring, superior actor, and I think he's just wasted in a fluff like this.
But one day, Beattie's script landed into the hands of Hollywood action powerhouse Jerry Bruckheimer, famous producer of Top Gun, The Rock, and Black Hawk Down. And he read it, and also hated it.
The script was just basically a by-the-numbers pirate movie, and I don't think anybody was interested in seeing that.
Now, this is where Hollywood doesn't seem to mind anymore, and would have most likely produced it. It would have turned into another Jungle Cruise, Jumanji, or Enchanted, devoid of any character nuances or development. But Bruckheimer saw something in this idea and gave it to two writers who had more than enough experience writing classic adventure tales, with them creating The Road to El Dorado, the incredibly underrated Treasure Planet, and Shrek. Ted Elliott and Terry Russo.
Read the script, tell us what you do with it. He said, well, here's what we do. We'd make the pirates have to return a treasure rather than steal a treasure. We'd make them turn into skeletons in the moonlight.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
And I said, I'd go see that movie.
Their choices would transform the story into a classic, turning the film from a by-the-numbers pirate movie that focused on having loads of energy and special effects into one of the best adventure films of all time. How, you ask? By not focusing on the action, set pieces, or multiple locations, but on character, and what pirate life would really be.
I find I don't care personally much these days for pirate movies since they concentrate on the action, and I'd like to see a movie about what a desperate existence most pirates must have led.
The failure of the pirate genre before Curse of the Black Pearl is very similar to the failure of the modern action-adventure movie nowadays. Instead of focusing on great characters to develop their stories, pirate movies focused on swashbuckling action. It became incredibly repetitive and even annoying to some.
But it aimed low, Roger. I think it is non-stop. It is non-stop action.
Why does that make it low?
Characters like Yellowbeard, Captain Blood, and Long John Silver always failed to capture the audience. Why? Because they were comically bad and laughably unthreatening.
Thank you kindly, Doctor. You came in the nick of time for our kinsman.
So, When poised with the challenge of creating a pirate movie that wouldn't bomb in the box office, the writers and director, Gore Verbinski, knew they had to capture the audience not through spectacle, but through great characters.
The characters is what you remember. Plots come and go, but characters stay. And that's one of the great things about this story, this film, these actors, these characters.
I think you made the joke one time that, oh good, we finally get to do a $130 million character movie. But it's all driven by character, by the character decision and the character design.
They decided to take notes from another genre that had to reinvent itself, the Western. Specifically, ones made by a certain Italian director, Sergio Leone. Leone's spaghetti westerns revitalized the dying genre of the Western in the 1960s by swapping out the noble traditional Western hero for a morally questionable, self-driven gunslinger, swapping out brute force of the Western sheriff for the strategic backstabbing of the man with no name.
Oh no, not you. You remain tied. I'll keep the money and you can have the rope.
You filthy double-crossing bastard!
Sound familiar?
You cheated. Pirate.
Jack is heavily inspired by this character. He's a lone rogue who wanders into town only to cause chaos. He plays two sides off each other and rides off into the sunset with his rewards. But when creating the character of Jack Sparrow, the writers wanted to use a character archetype that wasn't usually seen. The trickster.
It's actually a cinematic predecessor to Jack Sparrow, as evidenced in this scene, and it's Bugs Bunny.
What's up, Jack? What you got into touring?
That was, bizarrely enough, Jack Sparrow is a classic trickster type of character, which is a character archetype that personally I really love. You just don't see very many of them in Hollywood movies.
Usually, these types of films will focus on the warrior archetype, someone who does the right thing at the right time with brute force. Think John Wayne for the Western or Indiana Jones for the adventure movie. But the trickster is fun to watch because instead of being courageous, disciplined and driven, they're cunning, mischievous and morally questionable, like Loki or the Cheshire Cat. Instead of brute force, they manipulate and trick. Just look at this scene where Jack is messing with the two Royal Navy guards, Murtaugh and Mulroy. Tell me this isn't ripped out of a Looney Tunes episode.
Let's match the
What's up, Jack?
Jack's best weapon is not his sword, but his mouth and his wit. He spends the entire film talking his way in and out of situations. He uses Elizabeth's rescue as a means of escape. He manipulates Will into breaking him out of jail. He tricks the Royal Navy into gifting him their fastest ship, and much more, all without drawing a single drop of blood. Just like Bugs Bunny wants to be left alone to eat his carrots, Jack just wants his ship back, and he'll go to great lengths to get revenge on anyone who disturbs that. When the writers created this character, they knew they struck gold, but the icing on the cake? Casting Johnny Depp.
I want to start right out with some footage from our next film, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, because I want you to watch Johnny Depp's acting style here and listen to his delivery.
And I shall need to know your name.
What do you say to 3 shillings? Well, we forget the name.
That's kind of weird, right? You've never heard a voice quite like that before. He seems to be channeling a swashbuckling drag queen, but somehow Depp pulls it off and the performance works.
It was a great opportunity to invent a different kind of pirate. You know, a pirate you haven't seen before.
When they came to me with the idea, you know, it wasn't a script, but I started getting these ideas of a pirate, you know. Started thinking about what pirates were back in the 18th century, and I kind of thought that they were rock and roll stars.
I mean, the coolest rock and roll star, greatest rock and roll star of all time to me, hands down, is Keith Richards. So I kind of, it wasn't in any way like an imitation of Keith or anything like that, but it was, or a character study. It was just the way that he carries himself. There's a beautiful sort of elegance and confidence and wisdom that he has.
So I muddled myself on.
Road movies are coming out, and people say, have you seen it? I don't know. I was in New Guinea, you know.
So you take something as solid as that, and you combine it with, say, like Pepe Le Pew, you know, the cartoon character.
Sortez-vous, wherever you are.
So that's the reason for all the...
No one thought that it would work. We were all sort of watching him going, okay, mate, you're right.
Because it's this kind of swaggering, weird...
Yeah, it's crazy. It's completely crazy, and it read in the script completely straight, so it was totally his creation.
Nowadays, we might not think of what a bold choice this was from Depp, but at the time, it was revolutionary. He managed to turn pirates from this to this.
Borrowed without permission, but with every intention of bringing it back.
But you didn't!
You'll get another one.
Johnny Depp, what a spectacularly brave thing to do. He's doing this whole thing that's from another movie as if he was trying to keep himself interested. It's amazing.
He is a good actor.
Depp understood Sparrow's trickster archetype as a live-action cartoon character, someone who was equally omnipotent as they were goofy. He's in his own world. This is the genius of Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not some brute who generally fights his way out of situations. He simply manipulates people to his will.
I see no profit in it for me. I can get you out of here.
But how could you possibly counter such a great trickster hero with a great trickster villain?
This shot is not meant for you.
Barbosa is a different side of the same coin when it comes to Jack. If Jack is Clint Eastwood, Barbosa is Lee Van Cleef. Equally deceptive and equally morally corrupt.
This introduction of Barbosa actually matches the one of Jack. Jack is in the light, Barbosa's in the dark, but they're both standing above everything else. They are actually the light and dark of the same trickster archetype.
Swore she'd go free! Don't dare impugn me on her, boy! I agreed she'd go free, but it was you who failed to specify when or where.
The deal he makes, the loopholes he finds, you could see that being something Jack would do.
Agreed.
And they actually are paired in that way, as one is the light side of this trickster concept, and the other is the dark side of the trickster concept.
He competes with Jack by behaving exactly the same as him, the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, meaning the only thing that makes Barbosa our villain and Jack our hero is perspective.
Which side is Jack on?
At the moment?
We want the audience to have to keep making moral decisions. What would I do next? What's honourable to do next, and what's noble to do next?
This is testament to Geoffrey Rush's portrayal of the character. He manages to make the only stereotypical pirate character incredibly frightening.
That's why there's no sense to be killing you. Yet.
See, what sets Barbosa apart from the stereotype and most modern adventure movie villains is that he is incredibly sympathetic to watch, even when he torments, manipulates, and kills.
I suppose if I stand outside it and look at it, I go, well, yes, you're playing the villain. But somehow, from the inside, I was playing the hero, because his dream was that we will lift this curse, I will have a fabulous prize pirate bride, and I will live happily ever after as a very rich rogue.
He lives in the pursuit of feeling again. In an early scene, Barbosa watches as Elizabeth eats on the ship. We presume that this fixation is because he's poisoned the food, but in fact, he has resorted to watching others eat in order to dampen his eternal hunger.
Try the wine.
This again is why this film is so great. You're constantly questioning the hero's and the villain's motives, all whilst watching their constant game of mental chess.
Because there is a lot of good stuff there, and especially because Johnny Depp and Geoffrey Rush have so much fun with their goofy performances.
Johnny and Geoffrey have these big flashy roles. They're just wonderful performances. I kind of compare it in 48 Hours. Eddie Murphy was just brilliant in that movie, just electric. I mean, he really got a lot of attention. But Nick Nolte's performance in that movie is so important to anchor Eddie Murphy's performance to reality. It's the same here.
This is where Will and Elizabeth come in. Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley are often criticised for their performances being boring compared to the likes of Jack, Barbosa, or even the Parrot. Yes, they might be less fantastical, but they are essential for the story to work, for the world to be believable, and they even have a great story together.
The emotional reality that Keira and Orlando give to this story is necessary to make what these two are doing as real as possible.
Each one of these characters has clear motivations, arcs, and goals. It makes them entertaining and empathetic to watch. Although through different outlets, all of our main characters are looking for one thing: freedom. Jack seeks freedom through his pursuit of the Black Pearl, Barbosa seeks it through lifting Cortez's curse, Elizabeth seeks it through the ability to make her own decisions, and Will seeks it through his forbidden love. This is what is important to establish before the action scenes come round.
There was, I wrote it out, and the person who storyboarded it just had him run on water. And I said, no. When he runs on water, he thinks he's going to fail. And then he finds that he can run on water, and he's exhilarated. And so it wasn't just the action. The action wasn't enough. It's how does the character feel about the action. Mm-hmm. And then action becomes character, which becomes more interesting.
It's these established characterizations coming out in the action that makes it entertaining, not the spectacle.
To do something incredibly stupid.
We learn throughout the story that Jack is a trickster, weasel, and bad swordsman. Therefore, in his grand final fight against Barbosa, it makes sense that he has an ace in the hole.
Couldn't resist, mate.
Because you understand their goals, you can empathise with them once they're thrown into these outlandish situations and fantastical worlds. And who makes these worlds? Not the locations, not the set design, not the action scenes, but the side characters.
I didn't know we was taking on captain.
She's invoked the right of parley with Captain Barbosa.
Pirate films, and even modern adventure films, seem to always neglect supporting characters, and even extras. They focus on the main cast, and in doing so, make their stories feel small and commercial. Creating a diverse range of supporting characters is a crucial element of storytelling if you want to give the illusion of scale.
Sub-characters and smaller characters can provide a lot of colour to a script and really complete it and make it a whole. A lot of your greatest laughs and moments from side characters. So they're very important to keep aware of and to always try and... I always try and populate my stories with those kinds of characters and not just, thinking about the main people. That gives you a more complete world.
A perfect example of this is the original Star Wars. It feels enormous, yet our heroes only go to a planet, a moon, and a space station. Lucas manages to create a whole universe in under 2 hours, and it's because of the film's range of diverse and unique characters. If we look at Curse of the Black Pearl, it's the same. Our heroes only go to Port Royal, Tortuga, a boat, and Isla de Muerta, but it's the use of the side characters that makes the world feel lived in. You have characters like Norrington, Gibbs, these two, or even these two, that populate the world and make the film seem bigger than just 4 people chasing after gold. They all have clear goals, making the world more exciting to be in. Norrington wants to rid the Caribbean of piracy and marry Elizabeth. Ragetti wants riches to get a new eye. Gibbs wants to keep his loyalty to Jack. I could go on. The point is, even these small characters are approached with the same level of nuance as the main cast.
What's missing now that was there in that golden age of Hollywood? It was those great character actors under contract.
Why don't nobody never tell me nothing?
Get away from that wagon or you won't be around to hear anything.
And that was what we did as we were writing this screenplay. We said, we're going to feature these guys and we're going to make their characters
a fun and interesting and important part of the story.
You don't see a lot of that particularly in these summer movies where you just have sprinkled throughout these wonderful character turns. And so when we were working on the script, we actually basically pretended that we had a whole studio full of great character actors under contract with Murtaugh and Mulroy.
And then Pintel and Righetti.
The idea with those two guys was basically our Abbott and Costello on acid and Laurel and Hardy.
And this really shows, as all these characters are so entertaining to watch on screen, even for the brief moments they're part of it. What makes them truly memorable, though, is their appearances. In modern adventure or fantasy films, or even classic pirate films, all the characters are conventionally attractive, clean-cut and chiseled. They feel out of place in these worlds, or at least don't look like they've been through the ringer. Curse of the Black Pearl goes in the other direction by making every character on screen individual, like him, or her. They all look a bit disgusting and have a certain edge to them, and that's all Gore Verbinski. This aesthetic continued throughout his career, and was the main reason Jerry Bruckheimer hired him.
Gore has this artistic touch that I look for in directors. It's hard to find that combination of humor and edge, because you usually get ones that are really silly and have no edge, or you get the ones that are real edgy and have no sense of humor. He's got both.
And what inspired this aesthetic for Gore Verbinski? Sergio Leone. Again, Leone was masterful at creating iconic characters that were only on screen for a matter of seconds. He famously cast people with individual faces and appearances.
Sergio, one good thing he had, he was great with faces. All those faces, those gypsies that he would use to play the Mexican guys, he didn't just say, get me 4 or 5 people to be in the background. Every one of them had to have a different look.
He believed it was an integral part of great visual storytelling, world building, and immersion. Because of their appearances, they would become more memorable with little screen time, making the world feel more lived in. And we can see this influence on Black Pearl, down to the smallest of characters.
What are you looking at? Back to work!
Every side character or extra is rugged, weathered, and individual. Gone are the clean Hollywood-style swashbuckling pirates like Errol Flynn or Morgan Adams. In this, the hair, makeup, and costume departments create more realistic, torn-apart pirates who've been broken by the 7 seas. They have cataracts, facial scars, and missing teeth. They all look so different and memorable, even some with their lines.
Hello, Poppy.
In doing so, Verbinski creates this gritty and edgy atmosphere that we hadn't seen in a pirate movie before. It's genuinely scary. Like Leone did with the Western, Verbinski deconstructed the genre visually and showed us what a pirate's life would be. Incredibly hard.
You know nothing of hell.
These exaggerated features of the smallest characters presents the level of detail that you just don't see in modern adventure films anymore. These films always have the characters immaculately clean, with iron shirts and no sweat. You're telling me, after surviving a plane crash, you'd look like this? Hollywood is too concerned with making everyone look good, that they forget that these stories are about being immersed. And to do that, you have to believe, even if it's subconsciously,
Goodbye.
that these characters have been through the ringer.
Goodbye.
I think Curse of the Black Pearl, and maybe even the rest of Gore Verbinski's trilogy, is up there with all the other classic adventure movies, like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars. Now, I may have a bias, as I grew up with these films, but Black Pearl is definitely up there. There are plenty of other reasons outside of character why this is a classic. Hans Zimmer's and Klaus Baldet's iconic scores, the choice to shoot mainly on location, giving it a timeless look, or the fact that it's a fantastic swashbuckling adventure. But I think the focus by the writers and director to make sure that this is a character story first is a reason why it's so good. Modern adventure films think scale is what makes us feel excitement. Instead of the Death Star, they have Starkiller Base. Instead of a T-Rex, they have Indominus Rex. Yet, they forget to have great characters to make us feel excitement, fear, and empathy when they're thrown into these extraordinary situations. Instead of Dr. Grant and Sattler, they have Owen and Claire. Instead of Luke, Leia, and Han, they have Rey, Finn, and Kylo, as well as Luke, Leia, and Han. The point is, modern action thinks that if they put large scale into adventure, then we will immediately enjoy it, all while sacrificing character. But sometimes, you have a competent director and great writers come through, who know how to craft great characters and stories. They're given a large budget to play with, and they manage to create truly great movies of adventure. And they always flop. I just want adventure films that leave me full of excitement with a big old grin on my face. Anyway, this is what I do between jobs. If you manage to make it this far, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps me out. And thank you very much for watching.
Come to negotiate, eh? Have you slimy git? Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
Enough.